Ever wonder how some of the richest stars in Hollywood manage to lose it all? Imagine earning millions, living in mansions, driving supercars, and still ending up broke. Fame might buy you luxury, but it doesn't come with financial wisdom. From private islands to pet tigers, some of these celebrities spent money faster than they made it. And when the spotlight faded, so did their fortunes. Let's dive into the stars who burned through millions and paid the price. Number 25, Kim Basinger. At one point, Kim Basinger was one of the most admired women in Hollywood. She had an Oscar, a modeling empire, and enough fame to last a lifetime. But in 1993, she shocked the industry by filing for bankruptcy. What happened? A small film called Boxing Helena. She backed out of the project, got sued for breach of contract, and the jury hit her with a multi-million-dollar judgment. Suddenly, the woman who bought an entire Georgia town named Braselton couldn't afford her own bills. Kim had invested millions in the idea of turning that town into a Hollywood getaway. But the dream collapsed, leaving her buried in debt. The press mocked her studios, backed away, and her lavish lifestyle came to a screeching halt. Yet Kim bounced back carefully, rebuilding her career with roles in LA, Confidential, and The Door in the Floor. Her downfall became a masterclass in how fast Hollywood's glitter can turn to dust. Number 24, Burt Reynolds. Few actors defined cool like Burt Reynolds. He was the ultimate Hollywood heartthrob, racing cars on screen, charming audiences, and cashing huge paychecks. But behind that swagger was a spending spree that spiraled out of control. By the mid-1990s, Reynolds was broke. He'd blown millions on luxury estates, private jets, bad business deals, and a restaurant chain that flopped spectacularly. Add a messy divorce from Lonnie Anderson, and it all came crashing down. When he filed for bankruptcy in 1996, Reynolds owed more than $11 million. He sold off memorabilia, horses, and homes just to stay afloat. Even his prized Florida mansion went under the hammer. Yet through it all, Burt kept his trademark humor, joking that he'd been rich twice and poor twice and preferred being rich. In later years, he taught acting and took modest film roles, proving that even the biggest stars can learn humility the hard way. Number 23, Nicolas Cage. If Hollywood handed out trophies for extravagant spending, Nicolas Cage would have a whole shelf of them. The man bought castles in Europe, haunted mansions in New Orleans, a private island in the Bahamas, and even dinosaur skulls. At one point, he owned more than 15 homes. But by 2009, it all came tumbling down. The IRS came knocking, demanding millions in unpaid taxes. Cage blamed his financial manager, but the truth was simpler. He spent faster than he earned. He was making blockbuster money but living like a king without a kingdom. Forced to sell off properties, luxury cars, and prized collectibles, Cage became a symbol of Hollywood excess. Yet he didn't disappear. Instead, he leaned into smaller, riskier roles, building a strange but brilliant comeback with films like Mandy and Pig. Nicolas Cage went from millionaire to meme and back to respected actor, all because he learned how not to spend like royalty. Number 22, Wesley Snipes. Wesley Snipes was once one of the biggest action stars on the planet. From Demolition Man to Blade, he ruled the box office in the 90s. But while his characters fought vampires, Snipes was fighting something scarier, the IRS. He stopped paying taxes for several years, claiming he didn't have to. The government disagreed. By 2006, he owed over $17 million and faced criminal charges for tax evasion. His once glamorous life of private jets, designer suits, and million-dollar paydays came crashing down when he was sentenced to prison in 2008. His reputation tanked and his fortune vanished almost overnight. When he got out, Snipes tried to rebuild, returning to acting with humility and gratitude. His story became a Hollywood cautionary tale. No matter how big you are, the IRS is always bigger. Snipes eventually paid his dues, but his downfall showed that fame doesn't make you untouchable, it just makes your mistakes public. Number 21, Lindsay Lohan. Lindsay Lohan had it all: beauty, fame, and success before she turned 20. But fast cars, designer clothes, and non-stop parties came with a price tag her bank account couldn't keep up with. By the early 2010s, the Mean Girls star was drowning in debt and facing back taxes. Reports claimed she owed hundreds of thousands to the IRS and was borrowing money just to pay rent. At one point, she sold personal belongings to stay afloat. Oprah Winfrey famously gave her a chance at redemption, with a documentary series even helping her financially. But years of reckless spending and chaotic behavior left her career in ruins. Slowly, Lohan began turning things around, moving overseas, starting a business, and focusing on stability. Her rise and fall became one of Hollywood's most public financial meltdowns. She wasn't ruined by a lack of money, but by believing the spotlight would never fade. Spoiler, it always does. Number 20, Pamela Anderson. Pamela Anderson was more than just a TV icon, she was a cultural phenomenon. From Baywatch to endless magazine covers, she was everywhere in the 90s. But fame brought an avalanche of money and spending that would make most people dizzy. Pamela bought homes in Malibu through extravagant parties and renovated properties like a real estate mogul. Unfortunately, the bills outpaced the paychecks. By the late 2000s, she reportedly owed millions in construction and tax debts. When the IRS came calling, Pamela found herself drowning in unpaid taxes and lawsuits. She sold off property and even moved to smaller homes to downsize her lifestyle. What's ironic is that Pamela never truly stopped working. She kept doing TV reality shows and endorsements, but her financial chaos followed her for years. Eventually, she rebuilt her life quietly, choosing privacy over luxury. Her journey showed that even a global icon can go from lifeguard to life lesson when Hollywood's waves get too rough. Number 19, Charlie Sheen. At his peak, Charlie Sheen was television royalty. He was the highest paid actor on TV, pulling in over $1 million per episode for 2.5 Men. But success turned into excess. The parties, the cars, the lavish homes, it all became a runaway train. By 2011, Sheen's personal life imploded. He was fired from the show, and suddenly the millions stopped rolling in. With multiple divorces, legal settlements, and over-the-top spending, Sheen's fortune evaporated. He later admitted to being broke, owing millions in taxes and support payments. Yet for all the chaos, Charlie kept his humor, calling himself a warlock with tiger blood. Beneath the jokes, though, was a sobering truth. Even the most bankable actor can fall fast when fame becomes a full-time expense. In time, Sheen reappeared calmer, wiser, and less flashy, proof that even Hollywood's wildest man can learn restraint when the bills come due. Number 18, Stephen Baldwin. While his brother Alec built a reputation as one of Hollywood's most enduring stars, Stephen Baldwin's career took a different path, and not the kind he wanted. After early fame in films like The Usual Suspects, Stephen splurged on lavish homes, luxury cars, and big charity donations he couldn't sustain. By 2009, he was more than $2 million in debt. He filed for bankruptcy, admitting he couldn't keep up with taxes or mortgage payments. The headlines were brutal, painting him as the broke Baldwin. But Stephen didn't give up. He shifted towards smaller acting roles, faith-based projects, and public speaking. Slowly, he paid off debts and rebuilt stability. His downfall was less about greed and more about losing track of reality in an industry that rewards flash over foresight. Baldwin's story proves that fame is fleeting, but debt collectors, they never forget your address. Number 17, Johnny Depp. Johnny Depp once had an empire. He earned hundreds of millions from blockbuster films, owned an island in the Bahamas, and traveled with a 24-person staff. But when the numbers finally came out, they were staggering. He'd spent more than $2 million per month on his lifestyle. That included $40,000 a month on wine and millions on rare collectibles. By 2017, Depp was in a legal battle with his management team, accusing them of mismanaging his money. They fired back, claiming he spent himself into ruin. The courts revealed shocking details: dozens of properties, endless art buys, and astronomical bills. Depp began selling off homes and cutting costs. While he never filed for bankruptcy, he came dangerously close. His story became a modern fable about how even Hollywood's most eccentric geniuses can lose control of their fortune. These days, Depp keeps a lower profile, proving that you can be both famous and financially cautious if you learn the hard way. Number 16, Tori Spelling. Born into extreme wealth as the daughter of TV mogul Aaron Spelling, Tori Spelling seemed destined to live a golden life. But after her father's passing, she inherited only a small portion of his fortune, around $800,000. That might sound like a lot, but not when your taste includes mansions, designer wardrobes, and luxury vacations. Tori's spending habits quickly became tabloid fodder. She admitted in her memoir that she loved to spend money, and soon the bills outnumbered the acting offers. By the mid-2010s, she faced lawsuits, unpaid taxes, and credit card debt. At one point, she and her husband were sued for unpaid bank loans and back rent. Yet through reality TV deals and book sales, Tori managed to keep herself in the public eye and afloat. Her story is one of Hollywood's cruel ironies. You can grow up surrounded by riches and still end up broke if you never learn the value of restraint. Number 15. Brendan Fraser. Brendan Fraser was once one of Hollywood's most bankable stars. From the Mummy trilogy to George of the Jungle, he was cashing blockbuster checks and living large. But by the late 2000s, his career began to crumble. A string of injuries from stunt-heavy roles forced him into surgeries, while costly legal battles and alimony payments drained his fortune. By 2013, Fraser was in court requesting a reduction in his child support, claiming he couldn't keep up with the payments. The once golden leading man had gone from Hollywood royalty to struggling actor. His lavish estates and high-maintenance lifestyle turned from blessings to burdens. But in true underdog fashion, Fraser made a quiet comeback. With The Whale, he re-emerged as a symbol of resilience, proof that failure doesn't define you. His story reminds every viewer that even when the lights fade and the money's gone, talent can still bring redemption. Number 14. Meat Loaf. In the late 1970s, Meat Loaf was a rock god. His album, Bat Out of Hell, sold tens of millions and he was swimming in fame and cash. But his success came with chaos, expensive stage shows, lawsuits, and constant battles with his record label. By 1983, he was drowning in debt and filed for bankruptcy. He later revealed that at one point he owed almost $2 million. Despite the financial ruin, Meat Loaf refused to quit. He performed anywhere that would have him rebuilding his fan base one show at a time. His comeback album, Bat Out of Hell 2 in 1993, revived both his career and his finances. Still, the damage of those years lingered. His story is a wild mix of rock and roll excess and hard-earned recovery, a reminder that fame without discipline is just noise that eventually fades. Number 13. Randy Quaid. Randy Quaid was once a respected actor, starring in films like National Lampoon's Vacation and Independence Day. But over time, his life turned into a tabloid circus. Lavish spending, unpaid hotel bills, and bizarre public behavior made headlines. By 2010, he and his wife were on the run from financial disaster, accused of skipping out on debts and squatting in a property they no longer own. The couple claimed they were victims of Hollywood conspiracies, but the truth was simpler. Their fortune was gone. Quaid's downward spiral was one of the most dramatic in modern Hollywood, a man who went from Emmy-nominated actor to financial fugitive. Today, he's more of a mystery than a movie star living quietly outside the Hollywood bubble. His story stands as a cautionary tale about how paranoia and poor choices can destroy not just your career, but your entire financial reality. Number 12. Courtney Love. Courtney Love inherited both fame and fortune from her connection to rock legend Kurt Cobain, but managing money was never her strong suit. After Cobain's passing, she reportedly received tens of millions from Nirvana's estate. Yet through lawsuits, legal disputes, and spending sprees, much of that wealth vanished. Love admitted she spent millions trying to maintain her rock star lifestyle, buying art, fashion, and real estate, with little regard for budgets. By the mid-2000s, reports surfaced that she had blown through nearly all her money and was facing tax issues. Still, she never truly vanished from the scene. Courtney reinvented herself multiple times as an actress, performer, and survivor of her own chaos. Her financial collapse wasn't just about dollars, it was about identity. She lived fast, spent faster, and paid for it in every way. In true rock fashion, she turned her downfall into yet another performance. Number 11. Toni Braxton. Few voices define the 90s like Toni Braxton's. With soulful hits like Unbreak My Heart, she became one of the top-selling female artists in the world. But behind the platinum records was a staggering financial mess. Despite selling millions of albums, she filed for bankruptcy in 1998, blaming unfair contracts that left her earning pennies per record. When her career revived, she seemed to have escaped her money troubles until it happened again. In 2010, she filed for bankruptcy a second time, citing health problems, and canceled performances that cost her millions. At one point, she even lost her Las Vegas mansion. Yet Toni refused to fade away. Through reality TV and continued touring, she rebuilt both her reputation and her finances. Her story shows that financial ruin doesn't always come from recklessness. Sometimes it's the fine print that breaks you. Number 10. Mickey Rourke. In the 1980s, Mickey Rourke was one of Hollywood's hottest, rising stars. He had the looks, the talent, and the swagger that made directors line up to work with him. But Rourke wasn't content with fame, he wanted danger. He quit acting to become a professional boxer, leaving behind millions in potential earnings. The decision wrecked his face, his health, and his finances. By the late 1990s, he was broke, living in a small apartment with his dogs. His lavish lifestyle during his acting peak, expensive motorcycles, wild nights, and endless generosity left him with nothing to fall back on. When his boxing career failed, the industry had forgotten him. But Mickey fought his way back, literally and figuratively. His comeback in The Wrestler not only won him awards but restored his finances. Still, his story remains one of Hollywood's most dramatic lessons. Pride may pay in applause, but it won't pay the bills. Number 9. Wayne Newton, known as Mr. Las Vegas. Wayne Newton performed for decades in front of packed audiences and built an empire of glitz and glamour. But behind the neon lights was a mountain of debt. By 1992, Newton filed for bankruptcy with more than $20 million owed. Lavish spending on horses, estates, and private jets had drained his fortune. He tried to bounce back through more performances and business ventures, but tax troubles and lawsuits followed him for years. Newton even faced foreclosure on his famous Casa de Shenandoah estate. Despite the setbacks, he kept performing, proving that he was more showman than quitter. His financial downfall was classic Vegas, bright, bold, and fueled by excess. If you ever needed proof that the City of Lights can eat its own legends, Newton's story is it. Number 8. Janice Dickinson. Before reality television, Janice Dickinson was the original supermodel, a fashion icon who claimed to have coined the very word supermodel. She strutted down runways, graced magazine covers, and lived like royalty. But her lifestyle came with a royal-sized price tag. Designer wardrobes, luxury homes, and non-stop travel drained her earnings. By 2013, Dickinson filed for bankruptcy, owing nearly $1 million in unpaid taxes and credit card debt. She admitted to living beyond her means, saying she never really learned how to manage money. For someone who once ruled the fashion world, it was a humbling crash. Still, Janice bounced back with her trademark confidence, reinventing herself on reality TV. Her story proves that fame can be fleeting, but personality that's harder to bankrupt. Number 7. Sinbad. Sinbad was one of the most recognizable comedians of the 1990s. He starred in family hits like Jingle All the Way, and First Kid toured worldwide and seemed set for life. But his generosity and poor financial planning caught up with him. Sinbad admitted to overspending, supporting too many family members, and trusting bad accountants. In 2013, he filed for bankruptcy, listing millions in unpaid taxes and debt. What's fascinating is that Sinbad never really lived a wild life. He just couldn't keep up with Hollywood's expectations. After bankruptcy, he started from scratch, performing smaller shows and embracing minimalism. His journey isn't one of scandal, but of humility. In a world obsessed with flash, Sinbad proved that the real comeback is learning how to live within your means. Number 6. Haim. Haim was the poster boy of 80s teen stardom. With hits like The Lost Boys and Lucas, he was adored by millions. But early fame brought reckless, spending cars, clothes, and hangers-on who drained his wallet. By the late 1990s, his career was in freefall, and his money was long gone. Haim filed for bankruptcy in 1997, listing less than $1,000 in assets. He tried multiple comebacks, even teaming with Corey Feldman for reality TV, but the industry never fully welcomed him back. His financial troubles mirrored his personal struggles, leaving him caught between nostalgia and survival. Haim's story is one of Hollywood's saddest proof that fame at the wrong age can be as dangerous as failure itself. Number 5. Abby Lee Miller. The world met Abby Lee Miller as the tough, loud dance instructor from Dance Moms. Behind the confident image was a woman living beyond her means. Miller ran her dance empire with flair, but not much financial caution. She was accused of hiding hundreds of thousands in earnings during bankruptcy proceedings, and in 2016 she was convicted of fraud. Her extravagant lifestyle and poor management turned success into scandal. Abby served time in prison and lost nearly everything, including her businesses. Yet she clawed her way back into public life, determined to rebuild her name. Her story is a reminder that fame without financial honesty is a ticking time bomb, and when it explodes, the fall is televised. Number 4, Gary Busey. Gary Busey's wild energy made him a cult favorite, but his finances were anything but fun. After a near-fatal motorcycle accident in the late 80s and years of erratic spending, Busey's career slowed down. The paychecks got smaller, but his bills stayed enormous. By 2012, Busey filed for bankruptcy, reporting less than $50,000 in assets against nearly $1 million in debt. His quirky personality made him a reality TV staple, but even fame couldn't cover the financial wreckage. Still, Busey took it all in stride, saying bankruptcy gave him a fresh start. In a town where image means everything, he turned his downfall into another performance, and somehow audiences still cheered. Number 3, Francis Ford Coppola. Francis Ford Coppola wasn't just a director, he was a visionary. The man behind The Godfather and Apocalypse Now changed cinema forever. But his ambition extended beyond film. He poured millions into vineyards, resorts, and personal projects that ballooned out of control. By the early 1990s, Coppola filed for bankruptcy with debts nearing $100 million. He didn't stop creating, though. Instead, he doubled down on his art, producing smaller personal films and rebuilding his wine empire from scratch. Today, he's financially stable again, but the road was long and humbling. His bankruptcy proved a timeless Hollywood truth. Genius can change cinema, but it can't change math. Number 2, Willie Nelson. Willie Nelson may be best known for his music, but his life reads like a Hollywood movie about fame and financial firestorms. In the late 1980s, Nelson was at the top of the world, touring nonstop, living large, and trusting the wrong people with his money. Then the IRS came knocking. It turned out Nelson owed over $16 million in unpaid taxes. His properties were seized, his accounts frozen, and his lavish ranch life disappeared overnight. But in true outlaw fashion, Willie refused to quit. He released an album called The IRS Tapes, Who'll Buy My Memories, essentially singing his way out of debt. The album and his relentless touring helped him pay back what he owed, one show at a time. Nelson's downfall wasn't just about overspending, it was about misplaced trust and the cost of fame. In the end, he proved that grit and humor are worth more than gold when the tax man comes calling. Number 1, Larry King. Larry King's voice was a symbol of American broadcasting, smooth, charming, and confident. But behind the microphone, his finances were chaos. In 1978, at the height of his career, King filed for bankruptcy with more than $350,000 in debt. Lavish living, failed investments, and personal scandals had gutted his savings. For a man who could talk his way through any interview, he couldn't talk his way out of his own spending habits. Instead of giving up, King rebuilt from scratch. He took low-paying local radio gigs, clawed his way back on air, and eventually landed the job that made him a legend, Larry King Live on CNN. His rise from financial ruin to global fame became one of Hollywood's most inspiring rebounds. King's story reminds us that even when the bills pile high, persistence and passion can rebuild an empire, no mansion required. Lavish lifestyles make great headlines, but terrible retirement plans. These 25 stars learned the hard way that fame doesn't last, and fortune fades faster than the flash of paparazzi cameras. From Oscar winners to rock legends, every one of them lived like royalty until the bills arrived. So next time you dream of Hollywood riches, remember, money buys comfort, not control. Which downfall surprised you most? Drop your thoughts below, and don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more real stories from the world behind the fame.